Hello guys and welcome as always to Let's Talk About It. For today's video we're going to be lacing up our boots, putting on our trunks and stepping inside the squared circle to talk about the wrestling world, more specifically wrestlers who fell from grace. If you've spent any time watching wrestling shows, you'll understand the combination of drama, entertainment and athleticism that goes into them. The chair shots, the high risk moves, the heel turns, the title changes that are all mixed in with emotive storytelling and impressive in-ring action. That keeps the fans coming back for more and the wrestlers themselves pushing their minds, bodies and souls to the limit to entertain the masses. Whilst in the grand scheme of things there are a handful of wrestlers who get to the top and stay there, relatively unblemished, there are those that reach the dizzy heights of success only to fall a great height into the depths of infamy. And so here are 4 wrestlers who fell from grace. Now, whether you're a die-hard wrestling fan with a wealth of knowledge, or you haven't seen a show since the 1980s, the chances are you've heard of a man called Hulk Hogan. Being the face of Hulkamania, the man that slammed Andre the Giant, or a founding member of the New World Order, Hulk Hogan has had a storied career. However, Hogan's personal life paints a very different picture of the prayer-saying, vitamin-taking man the wrestling world came to know and love. Because in 2015, tapes recorded in around 2006 were released in which Hogan can be heard going on a racist rant in which he uses racist slurs in reference to his daughter Brooke Hogan dating a black man. The recordings came to light off the back of a court case that Hogan had taken against gossip website Gawker after they posted a 2012 sex tape in which Hulk Hogan engages in consensual intercourse with a woman named Heather Clem, the now former wife of Hogan's friend, whom Hogan also sued for invasion of privacy, Bubba the Love Sponge. Whilst the tape itself was controversial, at least by traditional relationship standards, the chances are it would have only ever altered Hogan's professional and public image, as opposed to causing the damage that, rightly so, his racist outburst has done. Because not only did Hogan lose multiple friends, fans and supporters, but he was also released from his WWE contract, saw his image and persona stripped from their product, and was stripped of his place in the WWE Hall of Fame. However, after many interviews in which Hogan publicly acknowledges and apologises for the things he said and the opinions that he expressed, stating that he is a product of the environment that he grew up in, a statement that could also be stretched into the wrestling world, which isn't exactly known for its racial sensitivity, he eventually saw his WWE contract and Hall of Fame status reinstated. Whilst Hulk Hogan has managed to claw back some form of career and has, potentially at most, seen his employers forgive him, the chances are a lot of wrestling fans and wrestlers themselves probably have not forgiven him, and the chances are they never will. In the 1990s to early 2000s, the WWE, or WWF as it was then known, was going through its Attitude Era phase, a time which saw the rise of Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Kane and Chyna, a woman who eventually went on to change what a female wrestler could become. Chyna was a big, strong and imposing figure, in stark contrast to the small, slender and often blonde women that dominated the women's division. In spite of wrestling's use of women, during this period at the very least, as being nothing more than sex objects, with their in-ring ability and personalities being an afterthought, Chyna was embraced by the fans and very quickly rose to fame. She was one of the founding members of the legendary D-Generation X, was the first and only woman to ever hold the Intercontinental Championship, which is a highly sought-after title, and in a move that transcends wrestling, featured on the cover of Playboy magazine. However, in 2000, her meteoric rise took a drastic nosedive after she split from her real-life boyfriend, Triple H, after allegations that he was having an affair with Stephanie McMahon, the boss's daughter, Vince McMahon, whom Triple H later went on to marry and have children with. The breakdown of her relationship and love rivalry with Stephanie McMahon saw Chyna released from her WWE contract, with her demand of a hefty payday also being a contributing factor. Unfortunately, this marks the beginning of the end for China and saw her involved in one controversy, self-inflicted or otherwise, after the other. For example, she developed a crystal meth addiction, suffered greatly from mental illness, attempted suicide, and saw a sex tape she made with another wrestler named X-Pac released under the name One Night in China. A situation that she says traumatized her and led her to embark on a career as a pornographic actress. We've all heard the phrase, time heals all wounds, but for China, that wasn't the case. Because years later, in 2012, through a combination of interviews and tweets, the woman, once billed as the ninth wonder of the world, says that she would have attacked Stephanie McMahon given the chance, and that she ultimately blamed Triple H and the McMahon family for everything she lost. But despite her personal issues and the public blame she placed on the WWE, China's sister claims that Joni, China's real name, privately regretted her decision to leave the WWE and wishes she had stayed in the one place that accepted her for who she was. Sadly, that professional relationship was never rekindled, and despite seeking help on several occasions, China was unable to silence her demons and tragically saw her life end on April 20th, 2016 after an accidental overdose of prescription drugs. The next wrestler who fell from grace is the charismatic enigma Jeff Hardy. A multi-time tag and singles champion in many wrestling companies, Jeff Hardy is known for his acrobatic stunts, high-flying maneuvers, and extreme risk-taking, all in the name of his wrestling legacy. A mindset that has seen him compete in some of wrestling's most iconic matches, from tag team bouts alongside his brother Matt against the likes of the Dudley Boys and Edge and Christian, to a rivalry against the best in the world, CM Punk, producing some death-defying moments along the way that seen him gain a large and loyal following. However, the highs that Jeff Hardy gets in the ring are often matched by the ones he gets outside of it. There have been multiple incidents in which Jeff has been in trouble with the law for drink or drug related offences, or that he's attended rehab to try and beat his addictions. However, one infamous situation highlights the former WWE and TNA World Heavyweight Champions' issues more than any other. At TNA's 2011 Victory Road pay-per-view, Jeff Hardy was set to take on the Icon Sting in what could have become an instant classic, which it did become, but sadly for entirely the wrong reason. Because Jeff turned up to the arena severely intoxicated. He staggers down the ramp, seems unable to focus, and can barely carry himself in the ring. In short, Jeff was in no fit state to perform, and the match was brought to an abrupt end before Jeff's intoxicated state could see him do damage to himself or anybody else. As a result of the Victory Road incident, Jeff Hardy completed 120 days of rehab, after which he says that the situation was the best thing to ever happen to him because it set him on the path to recovery. However, the road to recovery is a long one, and as recently as June of 2022, Hardy was arrested for DUI offences and has been suspended without pay by his employer, AEW. And in video footage taken the day before his drink driving offences, Jeff can be heard saying that whiskey is his best friend and his worst enemy, proving that despite his best efforts, his struggles continue, and it begs the question of just how many second chances Jeff Hardy will be given. And finally, in what is the most horrific and heartbreaking example of a wrestler falling from grace, we have the 2007 deaths of Chris Benoit, his wife Nancy, and their 7-year-old son Daniel. Chris Benoit was one of the most dedicated and gifted wrestlers of all time. A man with a technical style second to none and an intensity that could not be matched. He competed and held his own against incredible wrestlers such as Kurt Angle and Chris Jericho, and cemented his place as a world heavyweight champion. But despite his accomplishments, the last days of Chris Benoit's life will, rightly so, overshadow anything he achieved in his career. Because on June 22nd, 2007, Chris Benoit murdered his wife Nancy by strangulation. She was found with her wrists and ankles bound, but there was little sign of a struggle. The next day, on June 23rd, Chris Benoit then sedated his son Daniel and suffocated him in his bed. The following day, June 24th, Chris Benoit then hung himself in his weights room. When the devastating scene was discovered by a welfare check, Bibles were found near each body, along with suicide notes. The house was left easily accessible for the police, and guard dogs had been shut away, showing the foresight that Chris Benoit had during his final days. In the aftermath of the deaths, several theories came out as to a motive. These include a failing marriage that saw Nancy Benoit file for divorce. It's said that Chris Benoit never got over it, and it is what led to him murdering his wife and son. Another theory is that Chris was suffering from brain damage caused by multiple untreated concussions that he suffered during his time as a wrestler that saw extreme changes in his personality. And what is widely believed to be a significant factor, Chris Benoit is said to have been an avid steroid user and was suffering from something called roid rage, which causes users to experience high levels of anger. However, despite the logical theories, we will never know the true motives that led Chris Benoit to end it all. As is the case with all of these wrestlers, along with others, with the exception of offers of rehabilitation, in response to examples of public intoxication that cannot be swept under the carpet, very little ever seemed to be done to address mental health issues that resulted from either severe or repeated head injuries, or the impacts that life on the road would have on wrestlers and their families. Whilst things are changing within the industry, it would seem that its past has caught up with it, and ultimately it is the wrestling world itself that's fallen from grace.